Pilates reformer and Pilates mat are two different activities. Because if you have a waiver that just says, okay, we're going to be doing Pilates together, and for the equipment, it doesn't mention the Cadillac, it doesn't mention the reformer, any of the other equipment, and the injury happens there, the argument's going to be, you're right, we agreed that we would be doing Pilates on a mat with the Pilates ball and the magic circle and light weights, but it didn't say anything about the reformer. And the way that my client got hurt was when one of the springs came loose and it hit them on the head and whatever, insert crazy story that I've heard. You're like the waiver of liability. And this is just one example of one document that I hope illustrates the point, but it has to cover every single thing that you do and the way that you do it.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society podcast. If you are new here, I'm Alexa Cory. I'm the founder of Forever Friday Consulting. I spent 10 years in the corporate wellness space, working for companies like Lululemon and SoulCycle, and 4 years ago decided to start my own business and bring that expert marketing advice to everybody. On this podcast, we talk about everything from pricing, partnerships, everything that's going to grow your business and allow you to have fun doing it. If you enjoy this podcast, I would highly recommend that you hop into the Friday Society membership. You can cancel anytime. It is $50 a month, and we go way deeper into all of the topics here. So I go into live calls, webinars, workbooks, all pertaining to how to implement the learnings into your business. So you can check all that stuff out in the show notes, and let's get right to the episode. Hey guys. All right. I'm excited for you to hear this episode with Cory Sterling. He is such a smart lawyer and has worked with so many. I posted on Instagram that I was recording with him. A lot of you guys reached out and said that you've worked with him before. So he's the founder of Conscious Counsel. They are a law firm that works with a lot of businesses in this industry, in the wellness industry. And I'm super happy to say that I actually just filed my trademarks with him. So I filed my trademarks for Forever Friday Consulting and for the Friday Society podcast. So that feels super official. Never mind the 5 years under my belt of having this company, but for some reason this makes it feel extra real. But I'm super excited to say that it was a really easy process working with his team. So definitely loved that. That's it. I hope that you guys are having an amazing September. We have been focusing on messaging in the Friday Society membership this month, so that has been really, really fun. I keep getting messages from you guys about what your brand identity is and all of the fun stuff that we've been working on. So I am recording this for you right now on September 17th. I think the episode is going to come out in just a few more days, but we've got some office hours calls and the workbook that I put a lot of time into. So I will definitely be also filling out the workbook beforehand. But enjoy the episode. If you ever wanted to hop into the Friday Society membership, you know where to go. Just go straight to the show notes. You can cancel whenever you want. It's $50 a month to stay super consistent with your marketing strategy. If you are a one-on-one client, I will see you guys in our sessions very, very shortly. I would say if you don't have any sessions on the books, make sure you're booking those because September is already fully booked up, and things are really filling up quickly. So definitely get yourself on the calendar if you're booking one-on-one sessions. And that's it. Let's get to the episode. Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society podcast. I am on Zoom right now with Cory Sterling, who is the founder of Conscious Counsel. He is a lawyer for wellness pros, so I'm super excited to get into this. But before we do, Cory, why don't you tell everybody where you are right now and why we are not on video?
Okay, Alexa. Well, firstly, hi everyone, and nice to meet the amazing Friday crew. I am standing in front of the Mediterranean Sea. I am not wearing a shirt, and it's 6:05 p.m. and it's going to be a beautiful sunset. And I thought, instead of me being inside my apartment looking at the wall, why it would be so nice to have a great conversation with Alexa while I'm strolling on the promenade in Tel Aviv and just soaking up the sun and looking at the sunset and looking at beautiful dogs pass by me on the road. So that's where I am.
I love it. I love that so much. I am such a big believer that the energy around us translates into what we do. So I really love that you prioritize that.
Feeling good is where it's at. I think
Yes.
for as an entrepreneur, what's most important is that you feel good. And then when you feel good, all the wonderful, amazing things will easily follow.
Yeah. And like the point of life is literally to feel good. That's it. That's what we're all here for.
Exactly.
Love it. All right. So tell us, Cory, a little bit about yourself. Tell us, I know you told us where you are, but tell us a little bit about your career journey and also like I know you're super passionate about wellness. So tell us what your gateway drug was into wellness.
Wow. My gateway drug into wellness. And okay, well, I'll start with gateway drug to wellness, and then maybe I'll be able to incorporate some of my own personal story in my entrepreneurial story.
Yeah.
But when I was in law school, I've always played sports. I always played team sports. And when I was in law school, I found myself really stressed with all of the pressure that law students put on themselves, thinking that everything that happens is really important and significant, which it really isn't. And I found my way into a Bikram yoga studio. And that was sort of my entry point, hot yoga. And I loved it. And what I actually loved the most about it was 90 minutes of the day where I was not talking.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is cool. Like, I'm not talking. So that was sort of, then it was that. And then it was reading different books. One of my yoga teachers got me into Alan Watts. And I went down this whole journey and beautiful process of just loving studio life. And then soon after I moved to Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, home of Lululemon.
Yeah. What's
up? Just give a little shout out.
Yeah.
And there were some amazing studios and amazing teachers. And then I just, I loved spinning. So I did a certificate to be a spin teacher. I taught at Equinox. And at
was this after law school?
This is after law school, yeah.
Wow.
And so I've always sort of been, in a lot of instances, like the only lawyer doing the things that I'm doing.
Right.
I think it's because I'm a real person and a lawyer. I'm not just a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I was teaching group fitness classes, and I was teaching, I didn't teach yoga, but then I started a yoga festival in Canada called Muskoka Yoga Festival.
Okay.
And I ran it for 3 years. So it's been quite a journey. And then I built it for 3 years, and then I sold it after its third year. And then I went to live in an ashram in India and did a yoga training. And I recently did a Pilates training. So it's too hard to disseminate wellness and my life. They're too intertwined. But I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about healthy living. And I love exercise, and I love the people who I meet there. And I guess I can connect that to why I started Conscious Counsel, where we practice heart-leading law, and why I wrote a book called The Yoga Law Book, because I was working at other law firms, and my first client that I ever had as a lawyer was a tobacco company. And I was hired to defend the tobacco company.
Oh, God.
And I remember thinking, like, I've paid so much money for tuition and debt, and I'm such a smart guy, and I care so much about healthy living. And I like, by all means, the job I had was so prestigious, and so many other law students wanted to start their career there. And it just felt so misaligned for me. So it took a little bit of time to get the technical experience and professionalism from working at a big firm. And then I decided to start my own law firm and work with heart-leading entrepreneurs.
Wow.
And to make law fun for them. And when I started, at the same time, I doubled down, and I'm like, why don't I also just do this online? Because travel is my favorite thing ever. And why not? Why is it not possible to travel and be a lawyer? So that's me. Nice to meet you.
Oh, wow. Okay. So many things. First of all, congratulations. Like, coolest life ever, coolest story ever. So just thank you for like showing people what's possible. Saying why not? Like, why can't I do this is just so inspiring already. So I love that. And thank you for that. This podcast is obviously about you, but it's so funny. I don't think I've ever shared this story. I had a very, very similar experience where I started my career working for Lululemon. I took a brief hiatus into a big PR firm because I was like, I can't work for a retail store. Like, you know, when you're 21, thinking all these limiting beliefs, right? And I was like, I can't work for a retail store. You know, I didn't graduate college and do all this stuff to work in retail. All that like stigma that comes with it, even though I was like blissfully happy. So I started working for a large PR firm, and McDonald's was my first client. So much like
Yeah.
you with the tobacco firm. And I found myself at Hamburger University in Chicago. And I was like, what is going on? And I was a vegetarian. I was like, what am I doing here? Like, what is happening? I was so happy at Lululemon. And I quit the next day. I was like,
Nice.
I can't do this. And I went back to Lululemon and I was like, I don't care if I have to work retail. I love this company. And they were like, cool, lucky for you. We're actually opening up some flagship stores. Why don't you join the team for that? And that was my
Wow.
story, which I've never shared on the podcast. So thank you. I think I actually blocked it out a little bit. So thanks for your tobacco story.
No, pleasure. And I'm sure like you probably got like all of the swag of like a hat and a notebook and a sweatshirt from Hamburger U.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what am I going to do with all this swag?
Yeah. The craziest part was actually people like get married at Hamburger University. And there was a couple walking around touring it for their wedding. And I was like, what is going on here? Like, what is happening? I'm so passionate about wellness. Like, what? This is a parallel universe. And I was like, I got to get out. So super fun.
Good for you. I acknowledge you for getting out.
All right. So the one thing that really caught my eye was that your website says working with a lawyer just got fun. And I really want to talk about that because I love to say like marketing can be fun, right? Because I literally think marketing is fun. And then I have small business owners that are like, what do you mean? No, it's not. It's really overwhelming. It really scares me. So me looking at your website, I am like, how can law be fun? Like it feels expensive and it feels overwhelming. So talk to me a little bit about this. Like how can legal be fun when it has this reputation of being overwhelming and expensive and all of those things that come with it?
The first way that law can be fun is by saying that law can be fun, right? So if you believe that we create our world through our words and through our thoughts, the first way that it happens is a lot of the times when you tell people something and you have to authentically and genuinely mean it, and you have to be passionate about it. But if you tell people like, hey, we're going to work together, we're going to have a lot of fun, they're already primed to have fun. And I'm having fun because I love what I do. I think it's super interesting. I get to work with amazing people. I get to advise them. I get to help protect them. I get to help put them in positions to succeed and avoid problems and everything like that. So for me, I'm having fun. And so it's sort of like I'm bringing fun to the table and you're either in it or you're not. So the first way is just by priming and just letting people know that it's fun. And then secondly, this is also really important if you want to sort of be, if you want to change the industry that you're in, or if you want to do things in a really different way than everyone else is doing it, I don't pay attention to what anyone else is doing. We have at Conscious Counsel, we have our own systems, we have our own processes, we have our own documents, and everyone on the team, we have our bi-weekly team meetings where we talk about the core values and fun is always there. And everyone on the team is having fun and the vibe is having we're just having fun. We're enjoying what we're doing. And just because let's say as an example, Alexa, like maybe you watched Suits or you watched Law and Order or you saw A Few Good Men, or I don't know what other example, Hollywood or mainstream society or examples or stories you've heard from an uncle about law. Like I don't pay attention to any of that. That's not in my periphery. I don't care what other people are doing. I know because I've over and over and over again had amazing success with clients, and that the people who I work with, we have fun working together because we bring positive energy and we're optimistic and we choose to look at things in a positive way. That's how we make law fun. Just do things your own way. And I'm sure everyone who's in your group, also in the unique offerings that they create and what it is that they make, everyone has their own take. Otherwise you'd work for someone else. The whole thing about being an entrepreneur is you have your own take on how something should be done. And I've been through so many difficult situations with clients who were not legally set up properly from the start that it's like, I realize that you sort of have to trick people into having fun to get them to actually use documents and to understand and make themselves aware of what legal issues are present. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah. You just sort of have to, you just live it. You just live. If I live being fun, then the people who I work with are going to have fun as well. And I want them to have fun because I want them to be protected, because I've been on the other side when someone's not protected and they lose their business and they file for bankruptcy and they have to let a lot of people down and they let themselves down and they get into a financial pitfall and all that sort of stuff, which we don't have to talk about. But I hope that answers your question.
100%. And I think it's so awesome that you recognize, like, we all started these businesses to have fun. Every single person who is listening to this podcast, I know, is somebody who either wants to start their own thing or has their own thing. And nobody started this to like trudge through, right? And I think it is so cool that you're calling out these past examples of, the things you see on TV, because in a way it is also the way fitness is portrayed, right? Like, we grew up with fitness being this thing you like have to do, and it's to get skinny, or it's like you sweat through, and it's like, it can just be fun. It can be the best part of your day where you're just enjoying yourself and you're present, much like you said with your Bikram yoga class, where it was the first time you were like in a meditative state. You were like not talking, you were just observing, and so I do think that's really cool that you're just acknowledging, like, hey, I know what the reputation is, but that's not what you get here.
Yeah. And I would say most lawyers, if they would look at the conversation that you and I are having, they would look at it a certain way, and maybe they would be in a dress shirt and they would film it and they would be in an office and all those things. But like, that's not fun for me. And if such an important message that I learned from some of my mentors is just, you have to be yourself in your business. And that's how you will attract the people who you work with and the people who you're connected to. And if you fake it and if you pretend any aspect of it, then it just skews all of the energy that you're putting out. And only by really being yourself. So for me, I'm like, awesome. I can't wait to chat to Alexa. Also, it's going to be a beautiful sunset and I'm going to be barefoot and not wear a shirt and be walking by the beach, because that's fun. And that's who I am. And there have been times in my career where I've had partners or partnerships where they haven't accepted that or they haven't liked that. And I just said like, hey, this probably isn't the right fit if it's not cool for you that I'm doing things in this particular way. So stay true to yourself.
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree with you that when you're acting from someone else, or when you're acting from, well, this person did it this way, so that's what I'm going to do, that is a fast path to burnout. Like, the only way to stay invigorated and excited in your business is to be like radically authentic. So I love that so much. All right. You said something about foundations, which foundations, if you guys are part of the membership, that is one of my favorite words. Now, you were talking about businesses getting set up from the very beginning. And I like to say with marketing, like, the best time to start marketing is 6 months before you even open or you even start your business. And the second best time is right now. So what are some of these legal foundations that a business can do to set themselves up, and when should they do it?
Okay. So firstly, I love that whole 6 months before and right now. Because I think probably legally, I don't know if it would be 6 months before, but the way that I want everyone just to think about law is I want you to think about the different relationships that you have in your business. And I want you to think about how you can communicate expectations openly and honestly in each of those relationships and have those expectations evidenced in writing and signed. And if you can do that, and it should be right now, then you are putting yourself in a position to succeed in ways that your future self will thank you immensely for. So as an example, let's say you have a studio and you have an LLC and it's you and another friend and you're both members and you don't have an operating agreement. And you think like, oh, like we're buddies, we're friends, it's all going to work out. I'm telling you that you need these agreements in place. There are in the minority of cases, there are instances where I've seen clients who have gone from beginning to end without anything evidenced in writing. And I would say that's less than 5% of the case where they had no problems or issues around it. But 95% of the time in the course of your business life, there will be some form of issue or misunderstanding or miscommunication or misaligned expectation, whatever it is, that if you just had a piece of paper that had that one sentence that you needed written down to be there, it would save you tens of thousands of dollars and tons of stress and just make your life a whole lot easier. So if the question is, when is the time to start? Hopefully you've already started. If you're listening, hopefully you've already started and you have, customized industry specific agreements for what it is that you're doing and who you're working with and what the expectations are in those relationships. And if you don't have it, the time is now, because there are, in terms of stories, I've just got stories and stories and stories of different problems that have come up for clients where it's just like, I'm shaking my head. And I think this would have been so easy to avoid.
Yeah.
Like if you just had a basic independent contractor agreement that outlined intellectual property ownership, none of this, now this thing that's going to take up months of your time and you're going to end up paying me so much money for, we wouldn't have to deal with any of it. So it's really like, I can sort of answer the question just by sharing a small story that my mentor at a big law firm that I worked at, the first job that I had.
Yeah, please.
He was awesome. And he's like, I remember I got called to the bar, and so I officially became a lawyer, and he was my mentor. So he's like, hey, Cory, I want to take you to lunch. Let's celebrate. And he's like, Cory, I'm going to tell you the most important piece of advice you have to share with your clients. And I was like, I was ready. Like, I'd done law school, I'd studied, I'd done all of the things for it. And I thought it was going to be something really, social or justice or doing what's right or, and he's just like, Cory, you're going to tell your clients they can pay you now or they can pay you later. And that at some point they're going to be paying you, because you can't, the same way that you can't operate a business without having an accountant or without having a bookkeeper or without having marketing, as an example. Like, people are going to need a lawyer, and the best thing that you can do for them is get them set up properly at the start or as soon as possible, so that if and when an issue comes up, you can resolve it super quickly and not have to worry about it, as opposed to letting it drag on and then eventually have to deal with it where it's going to cost 4x and be stressful and divert all of the attention away from the important things in the business. So I'm happy to reshare that story with everyone who's listening.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay. So let's talk about, like, you have your templates on your website, right? Like, I was just browsing around on your website, and there's all these different industry specific templates, which are sort of, you said, like, making sure that your templates are set up for your industry. Can you talk to me a little bit about, like, why they need to be different for industry specific things? Like, why, maybe does it need to be fitness, or does that even get broken down into like different types of fitness? Like, do different types of fitness owners need to have different templates available?
Yeah, definitely. And also, just to clarify, we don't sell templates. We sell packages of customized documents.
Yes. Sorry.
No, all good. So a template would be something generic that, like, you fill in the form where you'd be like, this, and this, and this, and then, like, boom, it spits out something general that is not drafted towards you and your business. What I always say when it comes to law, and I'm going to answer the question about, nuances between industries, but the most important thing about law is that your documents have to reflect the relationship that you want to have. And so if the relationships that you have are changing, and here's an example, you have a membership, and now you're also creating online courses. Let's say you're a yoga studio. And you get you have documents, and you originally get them, and those documents only cover people coming into the studio. But then you also have online classes that sometimes you stream. That's a different aspect of the relationship as well. Now, let's say you have evergreen content where you have videos on demand that your clients can access. That's a different element as well. So now the question is, and I'm just using this as an example. So this is an example we're going to run with about on-demand videos and online classes versus just being a studio. Now, if we look at one of the most important documents, which is a waiver of liability, a waiver of liability is a document you get someone to sign that says, hey, I'm coming into your studio to practice with you. Normally, if I got hurt practicing at your studio, I would be able to sue you because you have a responsibility to make sure that I don't get hurt. But because you gave me this beautiful, specific document that outlines all of the equipment that you use and what activities we do and how we do it and where we do it, I was clearly informed about the risks of exactly what I'd be doing with you. And I agreed to participate and that I wouldn't hold you responsible, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I'm sharing this because I've been through this story before. I've worked with clients who had a general waiver for for an in-person studio. They offer online and on-demand. The waiver of liability does not mention anything about on-demand or online classes. Someone gets hurt doing on-demand classes because the space wasn't safe enough, or they overexerted themselves, or something like that. And I can tell you how it goes. They say, hey, I hit my head. I was doing a handstand. I hit my head. Now I'm unable to look at a screen. I'm a program software engineer. I earn $280,000 a year. I'm having PTSD. I'm having concussion-like syndromes, all those sorts of things. Then obviously the frantic studio owner sends me an email. I hop on a call. They're freaking out. And I will say, have the same magical words. I'm like, please send me a copy of the signed agreement. Because none of it matters until there's a problem. It's like wearing a seatbelt. You don't need a seatbelt until you need it. But once there's a problem, 99% of the issue will get dealt with based on the legal agreements. So I've been through this before. Well, I will speak to the client. I'll say, tell me exactly what happened. They'll say, okay, well, they were doing an on-demand video and they were doing it from home and all these things. And they'll send me a copy of the waiver, and the waiver will not say anything about on-demand videos. And then what happens is the natural question or the natural argument that a lawyer will have is they will say, you're right. Okay, so let's say I'm going to respond on behalf of the client with the bad document. I'll say, okay, well, you signed this waiver. So, you signed this waiver and the type of injury that we said would come up happened, so you can't hold my client responsible. They're going to forward that to a lawyer that they retain, and that lawyer is going to say, you're totally right that you did list, that type of injury, but the document doesn't say anything about on-demand videos or ensuring a safe space or making sure that you don't overexert yourself if you're following alone at home. And then at that point, because the documents do not reflect the current relationship and what your current offerings are, now they have a superior legal position. Now insurance companies get involved. Now settlement numbers start flying around. Now they're paying me on an hourly basis to deal with this for them. Where instead, if they specifically would have had, hey, Cory, we've added on demand. Can you throw it in the waiver? Awesome. 45 seconds, doesn't take any time to do that. And just finally, to bring it all together, that's why like Pilates reformer and Pilates mat are two different activities.
Wow. Why?
Because if you have a waiver that just says, okay, we're going to be doing Pilates together, and for the equipment, it doesn't mention the Cadillac, it doesn't mention the reformer, any of the other equipment, and the injury happens there, the legal argument, and I already know it because people have paid me a lot of money to make these arguments. The argument's going to be, you're right. We agreed that we would be doing Pilates on a mat with the Pilates ball and the magic circle and light weights, but it didn't say anything about the reformer. And the way that my client got hurt was when one of the springs came loose and it hit them on the head, and like whatever, insert crazy story that I've heard. And so you're like the waiver of liability, and this is just one example of one document that I hope illustrates the point, but it has to cover every single thing that you do and the way that you do it to minimize the possibility that someone will have a stronger legal argument against you. Does that make sense?
100%. 100%. So, okay. So I think the lesson, what I'm hearing, and I even just have a lot of clients that I know for a fact they've added in new revenue streams, new launches, and have not reevaluated their agreements. So every time you do have a different offering, is this a time that you should revisit your agreement?
Totally. Your legal agreements should reflect the relationships that you want to have with your clients. And
Mm-hmm.
so aspects of the relationships can be an add-on, an extra sale, different types of activities, whatever it is. Like another classic one will be a cycling studio that offers nutrition consulting. That doesn't include anything in the waiver about nutrition consulting. They have something happens where the person has an allergic reaction, or then they develop some sort of problem that they allege came from the nutritionist who gave it to them. No waiver of liability, no legal position. You're down a river without a paddle.
Wow. I love that you're mentioning the Cadillac and the reformer and all the this is why it's so important to work with somebody who understands the industry. I feel like there's a lot of lawyers that are like, well, what's a Cadillac? They don't even know.
It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. Well, I guess for me, I'm just super passionate about it. Like I just did a Pilates teacher training, so like I'm in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, other lawyers don't know about this stuff and yoga and fitness and all that sort of stuff. So I think, that's my expertise. It's what I do.
So before we actually go into our next question, which is going to be about trademarks, spoiler alert. Okay, I have a lot of Pilates clients, and I know that there's a lot of people listening that are Pilates teachers and studio owners. What I find fascinating is that the term Pilates is not trademarked. Is that right?
Yeah, it probably wouldn't, I don't think that it is. It was a name, right? Joseph Pilates.
Right.
So names are not allowed to be trademarked. And also sometimes when something becomes so ingrained in popular culture that it loses its distinctiveness, it cannot be trademarked.
Right. Because there's this whole, argument, I'll say, with Megaformer and Legree type of classes also calling themselves Pilates, or people calling that Pilates. And I know there's a lot of classical Pilates people that get very upset about that. And they're like, but it's not Pilates. And one of my clients told me that there was a lawsuit in the 90s where a group of Pilates teachers tried to take it to court, and they were trying to protect the name Pilates and make sure that it, pertained only to a certain methodology, but that they lost because Joseph Pilates himself didn't do it from the beginning. I was wondering if you knew anything about that or not, because I'm like down this rabbit hole now and I find it so interesting.
I stay away from those types of rabbit holes. But what I would say is that if you're genuinely curious, and it's a great thing to learn about. But again, I think I'm certain that the answer of why it was not able to be registered is that they are correct in saying that when you have a mark that you're using, if you don't protect it, that everything in law comes down to intention always. So like, and I'll tie it into trademarks in a second, but this is also a really good legal principle for everyone to understand. If you have a contract and you exclude something from the contract, the way that a court would read that contract is you intentionally chose to exclude it, because if you wanted to include it, it would have been included. So in the same way with trademark rights and enforcement of trademark rights, if you could protect your trademark, but you don't, the interpretation is that you don't, that you're not exercising your legal rights. And by virtue of not exercising your rights, you are not granted those rights any further. So it could be said that, okay, Joseph Pilates should have been the one to create a trademark around that particular methodology. And because he didn't, maybe it wasn't his intention to, and then who would be the first party afterwards to be able to. But I think my understanding of why it would not be able to be trademarked now is it's not distinctive. The whole point of trademarks is your business has a particular word or series of words or logo that anyone in the public, when they see that word or series of words or logo, they know that it's your company that offers that. And now just Pilates is just everywhere, that because spoiler alert, I'm going to start talking about trademarks now as well. The whole thing about trademarks is that you have exclusive use. and you have enforceable rights, which means you're the only one who's allowed to use it, and you're allowed to stop other people from using it, which is why trademarks are so incredibly powerful. So what were to happen now if someone were to apply now for a trademark for Pilates, and let's say they were to get it and the USPTO were to grant them a trademark over the term Pilates, they would legally have the right to get everyone else to stop using it, which would just be practically would be an absolute nightmare.
Totally crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So trademarks, my question for you is going to be, do we need them?
Yes.
And I think, yes, I already know your answer. So they are expensive. I got a quote for even just trademarking my podcast name, and it was like $12,000. Why are they so, is that crazy? Was that a crazy quote?
Yes. For our firm to do it, it's 2,688.
All right. I'm going to call you after this.
Yeah, that's anyways, but let me explain. So they are expensive, but this is how I want everyone to think about it. Okay. And I'll just explain generally a couple of really important principles about trademarks. So first and foremost, when do I need it? When should I do it? When you know that you are committed to a name or a word or a slogan or a logo, and it's important to you to protect it, that is the time. If you're just starting out and you're like, oh, maybe I'm going to be called this, or maybe I'm going to be called that, or I feel like changing it, or I want to rebrand, that's not the time to trademark. But the moment that you're like, I'm in, let's do it, you have to. So for example, Conscious Counsel, 6 months before I launched my firm, I was like, I know it's a killer name. I know it's what I'm all about. I don't want anyone else to be able to use it. So I registered a trademark even before I opened the business. And that's called like an intent to file, but I'm not going to talk about any boring legal stuff on this. Now, the next thing is, and one of the, tragic is such a dramatic word, so it's not really tragic, but one of the most unfortunate situations that I've been through time and time again with clients, which comes to like the pay me now, pay me later thing, is that a lot of the times people will wait and they'll say like, oh, like I've been around for 7 years, like I don't need to trademark. Why do I need to trademark? I've been operating for so long. And it's happened to me on more than 5 occasions that I've had clients with very, very successful businesses, really distinct names in the marketplace, recognizable, logo or recognizable slogan or whatever their mark is, that they never registered. Someone comes out of the woodwork, in a cabin in Maine and has some sort of offering that they're creating, registers a trademark, they get the trademark certificate, and then they send a cease and desist letter. And it doesn't matter how long you've been in business, if you're asleep at the wheel and you don't register and someone successfully registers before you, it is a very long and expensive and challenging uphill battle. And every time that it's happened for me, a client will just forward me a cease and desist letter. And they're like, I've been around for 25 years using this.
Oh my God.
Who's this person that's coming out of nowhere saying that they were using it longer? But it's in trademarks, it's called a race to the registry. So you do have common law rights that if it's between 2 people using the same mark and neither are registered, whoever's been using it longer will have better legal position. But once one party registers, then they automatically have better position, and the onus is on the non-registering party to prove otherwno. So it makes me sick to my stomach.
You're making my heart beat so fast right now.
Oh no. Well, I'm really not. I'm just sharing.
No, it's not a bad thing. I know I have to. I need to. I'll just call you after that.
Okay, cool. So, but it's really important because what that letter says. When I've been on the receiving end of that letter, or clients forward me the email, it'll be someone who's like, "Hey, we're representing our client. They have registered trademark, whatever." That's extremely similar to yours that would mislead the public. You have 30 days to change your website domain, change all of your offerings, change your marketing, change this, change that.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And then it's like, my client's like, what can I do? I'm like, it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, and it's going to take years of you're going to be tied up in legal proceedings. And they're way ahead of you by virtue of registration.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So everybody make sure every time you launch something new, you revisit your agreements, make sure they're very specific to your industry, and make sure you've got that trademark registered.
Make sure of it.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, my last question was going to be, is there a difference legally between LLCs, S corps, all the different things that a business can do to set themselves up for success?
Yeah, there are different formations. So the biggest thing to know, and an S corp is more of a tax position than anything else. So usually the first question that I usually deal with is like, should I register a legal entity or should I operate as a sole proprietor?
Mm-hmm.
And then the questions about whether or not someone should register an S corp or something like that usually are going to be accountant questions, because you want to work with a team of professionals who understand what your goals are, who understand where you currently are at, who understand
Mm-hmm.
where it is that you're going. And like, really, it's like bookkeeper, accountant, lawyer are the
Mm-hmm.
three people. Like, I've been in business for 6 years. I did not have a good accountant for the first 3 years. And then
Mm.
I spent 2 years, I spent pay me now, pay me later. I had to pay
Yep.
later for getting a good accountant afterwards. And it just costs so much money
Yeah.
that I was so angry at myself for not doing it properly. So everyone who's listening,
Mm.
you need a team of professionals to help guide you, who you like working with, who make things fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest difference between an LLC and being a sole proprietorship is that the creation of a separate legal entity, right? So, for example, Donald Trump has been bankrupt, I don't know how many times, but a lot of
Mm.
times. And that's because what he does is he'll create different legal entities, so different LLCs or different companies that it's not him personally that's operating. When you're a sole
Mm-hmm.
proprietor, all of your personal assets and all of your liabilities are the same. So let's
Mm.
say, God forbid, you're operating as a sole prop, something happens and you get sued, your personal assets, like your home, like your car, like your savings, all of those can be used to satisfy any personal liabilities.
Wow.
The benefit of creating a separate legal entity, which can be an LLC or which can be a company or a corporation. And again, an S corp is a type of this, but an S corp is more of it's a tax filing type of entity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's you to be an S corp, you have to be an LLC first, and then you
Mm-hmm.
designate a filing to be an S corp. But I'm just going to keep it to LLC/company and sole proprietor.
Yeah.
So the benefit of being an LLC is, okay, cool. God forbid something happens and I get sued. All of the legal agreement. This is also why legal agreements have to be drafted properly. All of the legal agreements were between the LLC and the participants.
Mm.
Any debts or liabilities that need to satisfy any money owed by virtue of a lawsuit or settlement or whatever it is, belong to the LLC.
Mm-hmm.
My personal assets, my home, my car, my savings, all of that is completely safe. It's totally separate.
Yeah.
People are signing legal agreements with the LLC and not with me personally. Whereas when you're a sole prop, they're signing with you personally. And it's not uncommon that I'll have like clients who receive inheritances that want to register an LLC, or buy a home and then want to register an LLC. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have any assets, I mean, no one ever would want to be personally bankrupt,
Right.
but then there's less of a risk, but you always want to protect yourself. So I hope that answers the question.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Wow. Okay. Well, that one made my heart rate slow because I know that I do have all of that set up. So
Good.
All right, Cory, this was awesome and super, super eye-opening. We're going to get into rapid fire questions, but before we do that, I know people are going to be literally burning to work with you. Where do they go to do that?
Hopefully in the show notes, there will
Yep.
be a link to my email address,
Yep.
which is
Okay.
Cory@consciouscounsel.ca, or to our website, which is consciouscounsel.ca. And also, if you enjoyed this, you can also just write me an email to say hi and be like, hey, Cory, that was rad. Thanks for sharing this information. And I'll reply and be like, hey, what's up? That's so nice.
Love
Thanks
that.
for reaching out. You're amazing.
I love that. You prefer email? You don't want people to reach out like over social media or something?
They certainly can. The Instagram we have is @Conscious Counsel, but I don't have, I mean, the company has, but
Yeah.
I don't use any of that stuff. So I guess
Got
I'm
it.
old school, that if we want to like really connect like people, shoot
Yeah.
me a note. But also, if you want to work together, you can reach out to us on social.
Love that. I love that. Send them an email, you guys. Say hi. All right,
Please.
Cory, let's do some rapid fire questions. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite way to work out?
Mat Pilates.
Mat Pilates, not reformer?
Yeah. I'm a Matt Pilates guy. I'm getting ready for the tattoo.
Love it. All right, cool. Software that you cannot run your business without.
Slack. Oh, delicious.
Really?
Yeah. Slack is my team. Our team is like, we're in Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires. I'm in Tel Aviv. We've got someone in Zagreb, Croatia. We've got someone in Bali. We've got someone in San Diego, and like Slack is where the magic happens.
I love it. I totally agree with that one. All right. This one's going to be hard for you. I know. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I'll just say Lagos, Nigeria, just randomly, because I was listening to some Nigerian music today and someone passed by and they were like, oh yeah, you like Nigerian music? I was like, yeah, but I want to go. I haven't been. So why not?
Awesome. Advice that you would give to your younger self?
Advice that I would give to my younger self?
Like teenage, like pretty young.
I would tell my teenage self to have fun and do what feels right. And don't worry about things because everything's going to work out anyways.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Done is better than perfect. True or false?
100% true. Nothing I've ever done I've never been remotely close to perfect. And as an example, running a law firm, but also like, I just go back to operating a yoga festival, which it was not perfect, but it did get done. And like definitely I'm on team done all the way.
Yes. I love that. All right. Last question. What does it mean to be a great business owner?
Wow. To be a great business owner means to genuinely love what you do, to make a positive change in an environment from your own perspective of whatever change means. And I think to provide yourself with the resources to live your dream life, whatever that means.
Yep. Absolutely. Oh, I love that. Cory, this was so fantastic. For me specifically, also, I know for everybody listening. So thank you so much. You guys send him an email. I will put his email in the show notes, and that's that.
Thanks, Alexa. And I hope your heart rate is slowly coming down.
Well, it is only because now I know I'm going to need to invest a certain amount of money. I'm going to get my trademark done, and then we're going to be good.
It's like you just won $10,000.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I got a quote to do it. And she was like, well, you need to do both names, your company name and the podcast name. And then that was, they were going to be $12,000 each. And I was like, I'm not spending $24,000 right now.
Yeah.
So yes,
okay.
I feel much better now.
Cool. I'm happy. Thank you for having me. Guys, everyone who's listening, lovely to meet you. Alexa's an amazing leader. Follow her. Her passion about marketing is so real, and she knows. I mean, no one needs me to tell them that you know what you're talking about. But and I'll just share with everyone that like I learned what you were up to, and I'm signing up to be part of the membership because I want those marketing secrets for myself and my team as well. So
thank you.
You're amazing.
Thank you so much.
Me.
Thank you so much, and I am so excited to chat with you soon.
Okay. Ciao.
All right, guys, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. If you haven't left a review yet, I would be so, so grateful. I read every single one, and they help me, they help the podcast, they help my visibility. So definitely encourage you to do that. And if the content of the episode was relevant to you, if it helped you with your business, I would love it if you shared it to your stories or if you sent it to a friend. That is it. I will see you next week. And again, thank you so much for being here.